Mitsubishi referred to this as the dynamic shield face. Pretty aggressive facade on all their models now. It's gone across their whole range. So you immediately know it is a Mitsubishi. But this is a different Mitsubishi in a segment that they haven't competed in South Africa before. The Xpander. An interesting choice of name, Xpander. I'll show you why just now. You've got these unusual vertical headlights over here with daytime running lights above and a fog light down at the bottom over there. But it looks pretty neat, it looks pretty good. I can't complain at all. You've got 16-inch mag wheels, so you can see this is a fairly high spec. It's the only spec option available in South Africa, but it's a pretty good spec indeed. You've got a basic kind of key over here. You can see with lock and unlock. And what is nice is when I press the lock button, note the mirrors do fold in on lock as well. And I think that is pretty nice and pretty neat. It's a pretty long vehicle, you can see here. And that's where the Xpander name comes in, doesn't it? Because this is their 7-seater. Can I call it in the budget 7-seater segment? So you've, of course, got the extended C-pillar section over here. Nice and long. And you come round to the back. And interesting tail lights with almost a reversed L into the rear hatch of the vehicle. Let's pop open the rear hatch and look at boot space. And I very deliberately now have put one of the 2 extra seats up and left one down. Because picture with both, nothing unusual, nothing that is different about this one compared to its opposition. In 7-seater format, you basically have zip boot space. But if you look now in 5-seater or even 6-seater format, look at the space you would have if I drop this one as well. Look now, as a 5-seater, the massive boot area you've got. And that, of course, is a big plus. You've also got a nice little extra segment over here. You can see compartmentalized, which is very neat. And you can certainly store a few little items down there as well. So pretty neat about that little feature as well, I think. Well done on that. Let's just close over here. There is a reverse camera fitted in here as well. And you can see over here, just very, very neat treatment indeed of the whole rear end. It looks the business, it looks the part, and it certainly is similar in some ways to other contenders in this market segment. You've got a most aggressive spoiler above the rear hatch over here with, of course, the high-level brake light as well for safety. We're going to drive it, we'll show you the inside, and we'll show you, as I said, I think, good choice of name, Xpander. I showed you 5-seater, 6-seater, 7-seater. You can, of course, drop the middle row of seats and flip them forward and have a 2-seater with massive cargo space as well, if that's what you require. Or you can have it every which way you want, depending on when and where and how. Opening up the back doors, we look at the center row of seats, shall we call it. You can see plenty of space, legroom. The driver's seat set for myself as always, and there's good legroom over here. Good height in a vehicle of this sort. And I mentioned the aircon controls or the aircon vents up top over there, and there's even a fan switch for fan speed for the segment of the vehicle, for the middle row, etc. And that's a nice extra feature, especially at this price range and in this segment of the market. There are ISOFIX fittings on the 2 outer seats as well, so it certainly is convenient for mom, and that's important. But now the crux of any vehicle of this type is access to those extra rearmost seats. So let's check out how it works. There's a nice big lever over here. You flip it, that folds that down like that, and then you flip it up like that, and that gives you the access. So let's see how easy it is to get in. Well, I must say there's a lot of space over here for me, which is very, very neat. Climb in. This is pretty easy actually compared to some other vehicles of the sort. And let's pull the seat down, and then the backrest back up again. Oh wow, okay. I am seriously limited on legroom over here. Headroom, I kind of just make it with my hat on. But remember, there is this funny bump over here for the center lap belt for the middle over here. I'd call this a 50-50 one for me. Certainly nobody any bigger than me could fit in here with any comfort at all. And little kids, yeah, I think it'd be pretty comfortable for kids. And I've just discovered yet another 12-volt socket over here for the rearmost. So they certainly are providing 12 volts, just no USBs. That's quite strange. On the freeway, you can cruise comfortably at 110, 120. It certainly does do it, even with only 77 kilowatts, but it feels pretty good. You do find that you need to shift down when you hit an uphill, but it's a biggish, heavyish vehicle. I can imagine with 6 or 7 people on board. There are just 2 of us right now. But it's certainly not a hardship. It's not unpleasant, but it does do it. But what it is, I can tell you, is pretty comfortable on the road. It's pretty smooth. You do get a fair amount of wind noise from these big side mirrors, these big exterior mirrors. I have noticed that. But again, I think it's more important to have that visibility around you than to stress over that little bit of wind noise. So that is something that I think you've just got to allow for, accept, and know that that's a feature of a car of this type. But interestingly, for a big body like this and a big open body, it's not boomy like it sometimes can be in a lot of similar vehicles or something of that sort. But what does count and what is important to me is the fact that it can keep up with the traffic flow on a freeway. It certainly does it pretty comfortably and pretty happily. And I think that's one of the most important features that you'd want. The fact that it's only a 4-speed automatic in today's world of 6-speed, 8-speed, and even 10-speed automatics, people seem to pull up their nose and say, why, old technology, it's only a 4-speed. But like some of its competitors, it's all about the gearing. And as long as they've got that gearing right, in the gearing on 4th gear in automatic, at 120 on the freeway, you're doing 3,000 revs, which is not excessive and certainly is still relatively comfortable. Beyond that, it's light, it's easy, it's a comfortable vehicle to drive, comfortable vehicle to sit in, and that's what counts for the kind of family buyer who's going to buy this as a family vehicle, or for someone who needs it for commuting purposes, for maybe transporting extra people or staff or anything of that sort. Looking at the instrumentation, it's very simple, but it's very plain, very legible. I have no complaints. A little bit awkward, but I suppose you've got to accept, is you've got to press that button there to change the information on the trip computer. So let's look. We've done 325 kilometers, and now I've got to press a few buttons, and you'll see 250 left in the tank, averaging 6.5 liters per 100. Wow, not bad at all, especially for a vehicle of this type. Largely freeway driving. Let's just put that into context right now, but I still think it's a pretty healthy result indeed. You come down over here, you've got, of course, your volume and sound system and mode over there, and of course phone, etc. All work nicely, and no buttons on the other side of the steering wheel, but so what. Over here, got an interesting treatment. It looks like a metal carbon fiber type idea over here. And then on the door panel itself, you'll see you've got, of course, your windows, electric windows front and rear. And again, my complaint, you've got to manually lock the doors, but you've got a button to do it manually. No auto lock, unlock, on, pull off. I seem to be harping on that lately, but I think it's such an important safety factor in the South African market that I'm kind of disappointed that you don't get it. You move across, of course, to the center of the dash, and let's just look at the dash itself now while we're looking. It's certainly got a soft look to it, although it is hard, but you've got the stitching effect. You've got all of that. You go across to the passenger side over here, you'll see nicely molded, and of course you've again got that metal carbon effect over here. Neat looking, very interesting. Okay, let's have a look. Nice big 8-inch infotainment screen over here. Obviously no controllers lower down, it's a touch screen. But so what, nothing wrong with that. Press the home button, you can see all your functions you've got here. And it's basic, yes, but it's certainly got everything. And most importantly, look there, it does have a reverse camera. Most important for a longish vehicle like this. Good to have and very, very important. So keep that one in mind. You come down, you've got the air conditioning controls. Again, very basic, very simple, but they certainly work. And below that, now, one of my complaints and one of my picky points I'm going to give you. You've got a 12-volt socket over there, which is nice, it's useful. You've got a sliding hidden area over here, useful for little bits and pieces. But do you notice the lack of a USB? You've got to use this cable that comes out of the cubby hole for USB. It's there in the cubby hole and it comes through and you've got to use that. Having complained about it now, because I think a proper USB would really be useful and nice, I must tell you that using this cable onto there for Android Auto works extremely well. I've been using it a lot on this test because there's no navigation on this car, no complaint, but I've used it for navigation purposes using maps. And it works well, very functional, no complaints, bar one. I haven't been able to work out on this particular car why, when I plug in Android Auto, go onto maps, the radio cuts out and you can't use the radio. So you can't listen to radio while you're driving along with maps as well. Strange one, can't explain it, sorry. Your automatic gearbox over here, I've mentioned it's a 4-speed auto. I've got no complaints, quite honestly. It really does the job, does it well, and as I said, the gearing is good enough that you have no issues with it whatsoever. Then you look here, good old manual handbrake. Perfectly acceptable, perfectly good enough. Cup holders over there, and you've got a little storage compartment over here with, again, interestingly, you can't see it on the camera right now, another 12-volt socket in here, but it's still no USB. Oh well, nothing I can do about that. That's how it comes. So, you look at the engine we've got on this car, the 1.5 litre 4-cylinder petrol engine, puts out 77 kilowatts, 141 newton meters of torque. As we showed you on the road, it's not a ball of fire, but it's not expected to be in a vehicle like this. That's the point of this vehicle. It's a transporter, whether it's family transport or whether it's commercial transport or kids to school, doesn't matter. That's what it's built for. It's not meant to be a ball of fire in any way whatsoever. So don't expect it and you won't be disappointed. It's got the space, it's got the room, it's got really nice cloth covering on the seats. It's even got aircon vents up above over here for both the front and the rear. Maybe difficult to see again, but they're there and that's what counts. It's got all those features. It's light, it's easy to drive, it's comfortable. It's all those things. It's really basic transport in its best possible facet, if I can call it basic, as in to transport, if you want, up to 7 people. And that is what really counts. It's interesting that Mitsubishi haven't, in South Africa anyway, contended in this segment previously. But they've come into a segment that is growing in popularity. There is a need at the affordable end of the market for 7-seater transport, and they've come in there. You have, of course, got the 3 other main contenders in the segment. You've got, of course, the Toyota Avanza, you've got the Suzuki Ertiga, and you've got the Honda BRV. BRV is a little bit more expensive, but it does have leather and a few other things that you don't get on this one. So, fair enough. But also interesting, let's take the Ertiga and the Toyota. They both have 77 kilowatts, and they range 137 to 140 Newton meters. So it's really, really equal on those numbers on all 3 contenders, and prices are also very much in the ballpark. So Mitsubishi are contending, they certainly are, and that is important to know, because in automatic format, as we're in right now, This car right now will cost you 319,995. Call it 320,000 rand. You can get the manual version, 5-speed manual, for 300,000, 299, and I don't think that's important. So that's where it is, and it's in the ballpark. It's right there. Mitsubishi has certainly got a great reputation, and they are obviously counting on that to contend in the segment, and they're also making it very clear and stating their intent to compete in more segments in the South African market going forward. Overall, certainly, for the type of car, I've enjoyed this one. I have to put it that way. It's not what I would always or normally drive. No, I don't generally need 7-seaters. But if that's what you're looking for, well, certainly, if you're looking for this type of vehicle, this little segment, I've mentioned the competitors, well then check this one out at the same time. The choice will always be yours, and you've got to just see and do yourself the favor of checking out all the competition before making a final choice. For Motor Matters, I'm Eleanor. I'll see you next time.